ocean is a vast, mysterious wilderness, full of some of the most beautiful creatures and exotic creations the world has to offer. Fortunately, today's technology allows the modern aquarium hobbyist the ability to capture a piece of the living ocean. Creating a reef aquarium is to create a living ecosystem within the bounds of an aquarium. To do this, one must understand how the ecosystem of a reef works and how to duplicate this system in an aquarium. It is the responsibility of the aquarist to promote ecology, preserve the natural environment, and help your reef inhabitants live and thrive. This video will give you the knowledge needed to establish a reef ecosystem by using modern equipment developed within today's reef aquarium industry.
The key to any reef aquarist is to establish a functional ecosystem which encompasses establishing your nitrifying bacteria in the aquarium.
This nitrifying bacteria is the life support system of the reef aquarium. Nitrifying bacteria is the natural biological filter of the aquarium. Fish and animals of the reef aquarium produce waste in the form of ammonia, which is toxic to the aquarium inhabitants. Nitrifying bacteria breaks down this harmful waste into less toxic compounds. Once this bacteria is established, the biological waste of the aquarium will be effectively broken down to ensure the health of the animals. Nitrifying bacteria can develop on the rock within the reef tank and on artificial media placed in the aquarium filters. The bacteria breaks down aquarium waste in a process known as cycling. Let's discuss this cycling system.
In closed aquatic systems, such as fresh and saltwater aquariums, this natural form of filtration does occur, but only grows strong with proper assistance. This process is called biological filtration, also known as the nitrogen cycle, and it takes place when naturally occurring bacteria that grow in the aquarium help break down ammonia and other toxic chemicals. This takes place in 4 stages. The fish release poisonous ammonia. One type of natural bacteria convert the ammonia to nitrite, which is harmful. Another type of natural bacteria transform the nitrite to nitrate, a relatively harmless chemical that is then used by aquatic plants and algae as a food source. Although the nitrogen cycle occurs naturally in just about every aquatic environment, there are ways to strengthen the process.
This video will teach you how to set up a marine aquarium so that you can create an ecosystem simulating the natural environment of tropic reefs.
Establishing a beginning reef tank starts by having the right equipment. We suggest the following: a tank and stand, wet-dry filtration system, protein skimmer, canister filter, full spectrum lighting, a water pump and heater. Now let's discuss each individually. The first step in starting a reef aquarium is to select a tank and stand. For this video, we have chosen a 50-gallon tank to set up. Realize when selecting a tank and stand, there is a vast variety of sizes and styles. The stand should have ample room for housing the equipment associated with your aquarium. Make sure to choose a stand that is both sturdy and long enough to support the length of the tank. You will also need to obtain an aquarium hood, which houses your aquarium lighting. Make sure the lights within the hood are about 2 to 4 inches above the water surface. Additionally, this hood needs to be well ventilated for heat dissipation. The following equipment will be discussed by marine educator and author Dave Long.
My name is Dave Long. I've developed a program and am now the advisor of this program called Closed Reef Management at Cabrillo High School in Lompoc, California. The technique that's been utilized in this facility have been developed by the aquarium industry and the hobby industry. One of the first areas that we want to chat about is the main filtration unit, known as the wet-dry biological filter. There are 3 components: the mechanical, the biological, and the supplemental. The first part of the mechanical filter starts with the overflow or pre-filter. Water is skimmed off the surface, dropping into the pre-filter, and large particles are taken out by the filter floss. The second portion of the wet-dry filter is the biological portion. Here exists a breeding ground for the necessary bacteria that will break down harmful waste from your marine animals. The third and last part of the wet-dry filtration system is the supplemental. This is an optimal location to place chemicals that will help maintain good water quality and provide the nutrients for your marine inhabitants.
A wet-dry filter assists in maintaining the water quality of a reef tank. Keeping healthy water conditions is important to the development of the reef inhabitants. To review, the wet-dry filter consists of 3 parts: the pre-filter, the biological chamber, and the supplemental or chemical area known as the sump. The pre-filter removes debris from water before it enters the biological chamber. The biological chamber is a breeding ground for necessary bacteria which break down harmful ammonia waste that is produced by the reef inhabitants. The supplemental area, or sump, can be used for chemical filtration media. This media helps to remove undesired compounds such as phosphates, silicates, and metals.
Protein skimmer. A skimmer is a tubular column where water flows into and air is injected into the water. When the air and water mix together, a foam is created which consists of liquid waste and protein. This will flow into a cup and can be thrown away and disposed of at a later date.
The protein skimmer is a very important part of your filtration system. It removes organic waste compounds directly from the aquarium water. Skimmers also help aerate the water. Protein skimmers come in a variety of sizes and styles and are commonly configured to hang on the tank or sit in a wet-dry filter. The 2 most common types of skimmers are the columnar and venturi. Columnar skimmers use air pumps and wooden stones to inject air into the water, while venturis use special valves to accomplish this task. It is imperative you have a properly sized skimmer. Both columnar and venturi skimmers accomplish the same goal: the removal of organic waste from the aquarium by means of bubble and water interaction.
Canister filter removes large particle debris, provides necessary current and water movement to the aquarium. It provides current that brings nutrients to the reef inhabitants.
The canister filter is a complementary filtration of the wet-dry. It removes large debris particles and provides additional current to the aquarium. Current is vital to the health of the reef aquarium. It keeps debris in suspension and creates strong water movement. This brings nutrients and food to many reef inhabitants, who depend solely upon this water movement as a means of obtaining food.
Lighting is as important to the aquarium as the sun is to the earth. Corals and other invertebrates use light to produce food for themselves in the same way that plants use photosynthesis for energy and food. The two most common sources of reef aquarium lighting are fluorescents and metal halides. Fluorescents are the most popular source of reef lighting due to their low cost and ease of installation. Metal halides are high-intensity, full-spectrum bulbs that are considered to be premier reef lighting. They are more expensive than fluorescents and must be installed to certain specifications. When choosing fluorescents as your lighting source, the bulb should be long enough to cover the entire length of the aquarium. You should also include a good reflector so the light intensity is maximized. A good rule of thumb to the lighting is 1 actinic bulb to every 2 to 3 daylights. Actinic is a light strong enough in blue spectrum, which is not only beneficial to the animal, but also gives the aquarium a good visual appeal. The light should be left on between 12 to 15 hours a day. It is best to use a timer to have the lights come on and off at a consistent time.
The water pump is the heart of the filtration system. It circulates water both through your tank and filters. The heater keeps water temperature from falling below safe levels. The water temperature for a reef tank should be between 74 and 78 degrees Fahrenheit. Now that we've discussed the major pieces of equipment you will need for your reef aquarium, it is time to show you how to put it all together and get your tank up and running. Once the tank and stand are set up, the first item that needs to be installed is the pre-filter portion of the wet-dry filter. The pre-filter is installed by first placing the surface skimmer inside the aquarium. Once this is completed, the pre-filter core is placed directly behind the surface skimmer on the back side of the tank. Water flows between these two items by means of a siphon. As water gathers inside the pre-filter, it runs down a hose to the biological portion of the wet-dry filter. This takes us to the next step of the installation. As the water flows down from the pre-filter, it is deposited into the biological chamber of the wet-dry filter. Before the water is exposed to the biological media, it first runs over a drip tray. Here the water becomes evenly distributed over the biomedia and trickles down to the sump of the wet-dry. Biomedia provides an environment for the nitrifying bacteria to develop. There are different types of biomedia available. Whichever you select, they should be placed under the drip tray to ensure the water flow is evenly distributed over them. Once in the sump, the water passes through other filtration media before being returned to the aquarium. It is important to remember, if using chemical filtration in the sump, to replace it on a monthly basis. As this water collects in the sump of the wet-dry filter, it is returned to the aquarium by a water pump. The water pump we have chosen is a submersible type, which fits inside the wet-dry sump. The water is returned to the tank by a spout, which creates current within the tank. The water pump should be capable of turning over your tank's water 8 to 10 times per hour. After you have filled your tank with water, you must prime your pre-filter by means of a siphon. This is accomplished by inserting airline tubing through the U-shaped pre-filter tube. Then, by sucking air through the airline tubing, a siphon is created. No air bubbles can be present in the pre-filter tube. Once the proper siphon is created, remove the airline tubing. Water from the aquarium will be drawn into the overflow and pre-filter at the same rate it is pumped into the tank by the water pump. There's no need to be concerned by the water pump's flow rate, in that however much water is pumped back into the tank, an equal amount of water will leave the tank through the overflow and pre-filter. The next part of the filtration system is the protein skimmer. For this aquarium, we have chosen a skimmer that sits inside the wet-dry sump area. To install this skimmer, connect a piece of tubing from the water pump to the intake valve of the skimmer. As water enters the reaction chamber of the skimmer, it is met by air being injected by an air pump. As this air and water mix together, they create a foam made up of organic waste. This waste is pushed to the top of the skimmer and collected in the skimmer's collection cup. The filtered water exits the skimmer through an output valve back into the wet-dry sump area. Here is how the protein skimmer, water pump, and return line could be connected. You will need a control valve, a T-connector, and tubing to properly connect the protein skimmer and wet-dry filter to the water pump. The control valve regulates the amount of water entering the skimmer, while the T-connector joins the tubing together to complete the necessary water passages. The next piece of filtration equipment we're going to install is the canister filter. This filter draws water from the aquarium by means of a motor. Water is filtered within the canister chamber and then returned to the tank through an output hose. First, install the intake hose. This intake hose should be placed on the back inside wall of the tank and held in place with a suction cup mounting clip. Mount the intake hose to the intake valve of the canister filter. Having installed the intake hose, place the output spray bar at the back bottom of your aquarium. Attach the proper length of hose from the spray bar to the output valve of the canister filter. Once the intake and output hoses are installed, you may now fill the canister chamber with the desired filtration media. For this video, we have chosen high-intensity, full-spectrum fluorescent bulbs as our lighting source. We recommend having your lighting components professionally installed by your local marine retailer, as knowledge of this subject is rather technical. It is important to realize that fluorescent bulbs must be replaced at regular 6-month intervals. When setting up your lighting, you need to have 5 items. First, full-spectrum fluorescent bulbs that cover the entire length of the tank and are recommended for use with reef aquaria. Second, waterproof end caps, which are the electrical fittings for the bulbs. Third, a good reflector to maximize light output. Fourth, a ballast that will power your bulbs properly. And fifth, mounting brackets that will hold your bulbs securely in place within the hood. If you choose to install your own lights, it is vital you have a knowledge of electronics. The heater is the last, but by no means the least important piece of equipment. A good submersible heater should be placed either in the tank or at the bottom of the sump. It should be set at 74 degrees Fahrenheit to keep the tank from dropping to unsafe temperature levels. This concludes the installation of the equipment. Note how the lighting setup is properly installed in the hood and how easily the equipment is housed in the stand. Now we will start building the reef. The foundation of a reef tank is its live rock. Live rock is the most important element in establishing a healthy reef aquarium. The quality of the live rock you use within your system cannot be overemphasized. Let's listen to marine author, contributing editor, and hobbyist Ed Prasick as he discusses in detail the importance of live rock to the reef ecosystem.
Live rock is the foundation of a reef ecosystem, both in nature as well as in reef aquaria systems. It is a porous, calcium-based rock that serves host to many different varieties of marine life forms, including some of the various invertebrates and corals that are of interest to us in the reef aquaria hobby. Live rock is a natural biological filter in a reef environment. Nitrifying bacteria that break down harmful waste products are present both on and in the rock itself. Of course, many of the marine life forms inhabiting the rock consume unwanted detritus material as a food source. The amount of live rock you purchase for your system is extremely important. There are minimums you should strive to meet. Specifically, if you decide to go with Atlantic-based live rock, a minimum of 2 pounds per gallon of tank water is what you will need. If Pacific-based live rock is more to your liking, a minimum of 1 pound per gallon of tank water is recommended. The rock should be placed at the back of the aquarium and built up towards the water surface, sloping downward as the structure reaches the front of the aquarium. Once you have finished building your reef structure and salt water has been added to the tank, a process known as cycling will begin. Cycling is nothing more than the necessary time it takes for nitrifying bacteria to populate the live rock and various biological filter media present in your system. You may wish to use one of the widely available nitrifying bacteria culture products during this cycling process. By monitoring your tank water with one of the high-quality testing kits available, you will know when the cycling process is complete. Specifically, harmful ammonia and nitrite will have dropped to non-existent levels while nitrate begins to steadily rise. This accumulation of nitrate is lowered to much safer levels by performing water changes.
When choosing a salt mix, you will find a variety of brands available at your local aquarium dealer. It is imperative you choose a salt that is nitrate and phosphate free. Never mix salt in the aquarium when live animals are present. Additionally, use a clean container for mixing salt water. Use 1 cup of salt mix per 2 gallons of water to attain the proper specific gravity, or water to salt ratio. All salt must be thoroughly dissolved before being added to the tank. A tool called a specific gravity meter will measure the amount of salt in the water. The specific gravity should fall between 1.021 and 1.024. Using a good water conditioner is recommended when using tap water. The water conditioner will neutralize chlorine and some unwanted impurities from the water. Now that your tank has everything in place, including the live rock and water, you can activate your filtration system. You now need to wait until the aquarium is cycled, developing its life-supporting nitrifying bacteria. You will know this has been accomplished through testings of the water within your aquarium. Once completed, you are ready to slowly start stocking your reef with the many beautiful animals and creatures available to the modern reef aquarist. When choosing corals and animals for your reef aquarium, it is important to acquire information on the care and environmental conditions required by these species. Understanding the equipment associated with reef aquaria is an important factor in becoming a successful reef hobbyist. With proper implementation of this equipment, you can create a functional reef environment capable of supporting marine life. Let's review the equipment covered in this video and its significance to the reef aquarist. You first need to acquire an aquarium and stand, which will house and support the reef. The stand should also have ample room underneath to store the necessary filtration equipment needed to run the reef tank. Next, we recommend obtaining a wet-dry filter system as your primary filtration for the reef aquarium. The following items should be included or purchased with the wet-dry filter. A pre-filter, which will provide a mechanical means for removing debris matter from the aquarium water. A trickle hose, which transports the water from the pre-filter to the biological chamber of the wet-dry. Biomedia. It provides a surface for the important nitrifying bacteria to grow on. The biomedia is placed in the biological chamber of the wet-dry filter. A water pump, which transports water to desired filters and returns the water to the aquarium from the wet-dry filter sump. And a return spout, where water being pumped from the wet-dry sump is returned to the aquarium. The canister filter is a good complementary filter to the wet-dry. The canister filter is primarily a mechanical filter used to remove undesired debris matter. As this filter draws water into its chamber, the water passes through different filter medias, which help keep the aquarium water clean and healthy. As the water is returned to the aquarium from the filter chamber, it exits an output hose, which also provides beneficial current to the tank. The protein skimmer is a very important part of reef aquarium filtration. It removes toxic and organic waste from the water by mixing air with water to create waste-filled foam. This foam then rises into a collection cup on top of the skimmer. The wet-dry sump is a good place for the protein skimmer. The lighting source of a reef aquarium is very important. The lighting must be full spectrum and intense. After all, these animals are used to the intense rays of the sun and require light to survive. When choosing fluorescent bulbs as your lighting source, make sure the bulbs run the full length of the tank and also have a reflector behind the bulbs. Remember to obtain bulbs designed for marine use, as they have the proper spectral output needed by marine animals. This equipment provides the tools necessary to help duplicate a reef ecosystem. With proper implementation of this equipment, you can create a living reef. A very crucial aspect in creating a reef aquarium is the rock used to build the reef. This rock is known as live rock and is not only the foundation of the reef, but home to millions of microscopic animals that play an important role in the reef ecosystem. The live rock acts as a natural biological filter for the reef. Special care should be taken in obtaining good quality rock from a reliable source. As the curator of your reef aquarium, you need to have a good understanding of its required care and maintenance. Let's listen as marine biologist, author, and contributing editor John Tulloch discusses some of the necessary care and maintenance requirements associated with reef tanks.
Having a reef tank does not come without its share of care and maintenance. One important maintenance task is regular cleaning of the pre-filter pad. This pad collects dirt and particles of organic waste called detritus. If detritus is allowed to build up, it can pose a risk to the well-being of your aquarium. Therefore, clean the pre-filter pad 2 or 3 times a week by rinsing it in fresh water. Clean out the canister filter every month to prevent excessive buildup of waste matter. This will also ensure proper current flow through the filter. A good scrubber or magnetic cleaner will be very useful in cleaning algae growth off the inside walls of the aquarium. As water evaporates from the aquarium, it should be replaced with fresh water. Because salt does not evaporate from the tank, do not use salt water to replace evaporated water. In fact, using salt water for this purpose will result in raising the salinity of the tank to a dangerous level. Therefore, use only fresh water for evaporation replenishment. Ideally, use distilled water from the grocery store or water purified by some other means. Your aquarium will require regular partial water changes. Changing water lowers the concentration of nitrates and other compounds that build up in the tank over time and replenishes elements required by reef organisms. You should change about 20 to 30% of the water each month. It is best not to do this all at once, but rather to change a small amount each week for a combined total change of 20 to 30% per month. A mini reef is a slice of living coral reef maintained in an aquarium. As an aquarist, it is your responsibility to help preserve the ecology of the magnificent living coral reefs throughout the world. Before you purchase any animal for your reef aquarium, learn as much as possible about what is required for the animal's survival. Then make sure that you can provide the conditions needed. Understanding the equipment and techniques presented in this video will help you to establish an aquarium capable of supporting many kinds of marine life. You must plan the aquarium carefully in order to provide the proper environment for your reef animals. Building your reef tank by following proven, successful techniques is the best approach. Start by applying the knowledge this video has given you. With time, your understanding will increase, your reef will mature, and you can extend the limits of your abilities. How far to go is up to you. The greatest part of being a reef aquarist is the constant opportunity for learning that your reef tank will provide. Think of your reef tank as a delicate ecosystem. It will be very rewarding to watch it develop and mature before your eyes, but it will not do so overnight. Patience is one of the most useful attributes a reef aquarist can possess. Positive changes happen gradually in a reef tank. Provide the proper environmental conditions and have patience. In time, the animals of the reef will reward you by developing into a beautiful and living work of art.
Just as no two people are alike, so it is with reef aquariums. No matter how many reef aquariums you'll see in your life, no other one will be quite like yours. It's this diversity that makes this hobby so fascinating and exciting. The ability to recreate the majesty of a coral reef and share it with others will surely be a rewarding experience for you. However, more important than the enjoyment and beauty your reef will bring will be your obligation to take care of it and oversee its development. As a reef aquarium hobbyist, the responsibility to provide a healthy environment for the reef tank inhabitants is up to you. Though we have demonstrated how to put together a functional reef system, which has proven itself to work well for many reef aquarists, other sources such as books, magazines, and aquarium stores should also be consulted for further information. It is important to remember that the reef aquarium hobby is not an exact science, but there are proven methods of success which should be followed to ensure a functional and thriving reef environment. Watching a reef aquarium develop and mature is a rewarding experience that will bring you great joy and excitement. We wish you the best of luck with your newfound hobby. We at Coral Life would like to welcome you to the world of reef keeping.
Bye.